Hello again, this is Badgerlord Patrick, and I am finally going to start showing off parts of my kingdom. I'm a largely benevolent ruler, and ruling cities and empires is a large part of my gaming experience. One of my favorite games in the city building genre is this classic, Caesar 3. But instead of just playing through a campaign, I thought I'd show you something that I've already finished. This is Lindum. Beautiful, isn't it? See all these different blocks of housing and, you know, kind of this industrial section with... It's kind of a mess, but it's gorgeous, and so's this promenade up to my city gates. Well, maybe less so for all the vagrants that are getting kicked out of their homes, but they can come back anytime they like. Okay, so this city is not exactly the prettiest. It's kind of a mess, but I'd like to show you how you can create your own brand of chaos in Caesar 3 by building some basic housing blocks that this city is based on. Each of these, it's not just complete chaos, it's based on something real. Before I get into the actual building of it, I would like to go through some of the theory behind how they work and how Caesar 3 works. But if you just came to see the city building blocks, I will put down there somewhere the place where I begin building the city blocks. You'll see it. Otherwise, if you wanna see some of the theory, get your nerd glasses on and let's get into some game theory. Okay, so in Caesar 3, Caesar wants you to accomplish 5 goals in each of your cities. The first is population, then culture, prosperity, peace, and favor. Population, of course, is the number of people in your city. He wants you to get at least such and such many people. Culture is the amount of humanities that you make available to your people, the amount of entertainment buildings, education buildings, and religious buildings you build, even if most of them are in a wheat field. Prosperity combines 2 different factors. First, are you turning a profit? Your prosperity can only grow if you aren't in debt and are paying your yearly tributes to Caesar. If you're not doing that, you're not going to get any prosperity. Second, your prosperity is capped by the quality of your housing. So what is the quality of your housing? If you have a lot of shacks and tents in your city, it's never going to rise. But palaces and even high-quality apartments called insulae make your city seem very bougie and thus prosperous.
The bougiest of
Roman cities. Then there's peace. Peace is basically whether any non-military buildings in your city have been destroyed by anyone but you. That's probably the best measuring stick. Your peace is lowered whenever natives in your settlement, or riots, or rebellions, or barbarian invasions destroy parts of your city. So all you need to do to keep it rising is to crush those before they crush your city. And the longer you do this, the higher your city's rated. Finally, favor rates how much money you give to Caesar, basically, and also how quickly and successfully you answer his requests for goods and troops. But yeah, it's mostly giving money to Caesar and making sure you pay your tribute every year. So 3 of these winning conditions play directly into how you're going to build your city, namely prosperity, population, and culture. To do this, your citizens are going to need employment, and you're going to need to build some industries. But this is not a corporate slave state, certainly not the way I do things. And certainly not the way the citizens want to do things, because they want nice things and lots of them. And they will riot if they can't get them, so you have to pay for them too, and not just your industry. And you have to get some of those nice things in advance. So, your 2 primary tasks of making money and of making sure your citizens are satisfied are often in tension. So, how do you meet your citizens' needs? Their needs are chiefly met by walkers. The backbone of Caesar society, the humble walkers are among the stupidest creatures conceived for computer game. They don't care about their jobs, they just walk wherever there's a path. And if there's a fork in that path, they will surely take the fork you don't want. That is a law more solid than gravity. So, the chief concern of city builders for the past 20 years or so has been keeping walkers' choices to a minimum. A second, narrower but equally important need also dictates the common housing block: water. Sure, you can build wells cheaply in just about anywhere, but clean water from fountains is what you need if you want to build anything more than shacks. And fountains take up a small amount of space and require workers as well as reservoirs, which really take up space, so building fountains efficiently is also important. Both of these concerns, water and walkers, have led to the development of some basic housing blocks. So without further ado, let's get to modeling these basic city blocks. I've taken many, not all, but many of these blocks and their variants from Caesar 3 Heaven's strategy page, where I first learned about them years ago. Credit goes to Jayhawk and all the people who assembled that catalog. So here's how you build it. You drag out housing in a 9x2 line, and you use that line to form a hollow 9x9 square, 2 rows deep, of housing. And in the middle of that, you put a fountain. But before you do that, you also build a road on the outside so your housing doesn't disappear. Because that's what will happen when it's not close to a road. Anyway, after you build the fountain, though, and the road, you then build a reservoir nearby. A reservoir has a range of about 10 tiles in any direction. I myself wouldn't build a reservoir any farther away than 3 squares away from the road, as you can kind of see here. And so from there, all you need to do is put down whatever buildings you need. Maintenance buildings, you're going to need prefectures, which are the little red buildings with the red flag coming out of them. Engineers posts, which have a blue flag coming out of them. You need those to make sure nothing catches on fire and nothing collapses. You also build temples, markets, theaters, amphitheaters. You can build everything you need in that 9x9 grid to get you up to medium insulae, which are very dense residential zones full of workers. This block, its main advantages are its complete and utter efficiency, as you can see. It's a block, it's just a simple circuit going around in a square, and it allows all of your houses to be covered by all of the services on the roads next to them, without any gaps or overlaps. And the fountain in the center is the most efficient way to make sure all of your houses have access to clean water. It really is just a masterpiece of efficiency. There is a different variant for the desert. In North Africa, your fountains don't have as large of a radius, so a smaller variant called the 7x7 block is also a staple of your repertoire. It's basically the same thing, you just do a 7x7 block of housing, and you put a fountain right smack dab in the middle because there's only going to be 9 blocks there anyway. This particular variant that I have here, not that I need it, this isn't the desert of course, but this particular variant is what they call a fireproof housing block because it has all of the maintenance buildings, the prefecture and the engineer's post, right smack dab in the middle. You are going to want to put some plazas there because otherwise you'd fill it in with grass or statues in order to make sure that the housing space is desirable, but that will make sure that none of your houses in the desert burn down, because in the desert not only does water have a shorter range, but your houses and other buildings are more likely to catch fire. So you do need lots of extra prefectures, and this is just that extra level of protection. So, there is one problem you might have seen already with this block, just in the state of nature as it is. It is that it does need to connect up to supply areas, to your granaries and your warehouses, which you probably don't want right on the road with your residential areas. But the problem with that is that gives your walkers somewhere where they can make a choice where they want to go. And as we discussed before, they usually make the wrong choice about that. So, how do you solve this? How do you make it so that they can't make this choice? Well, the first and simplest is to turn your block into
the long and winding road that leads to your door.
It's as simple as just not completing the circuit of your block. The idea of it being that you put your most important service buildings, like your markets, you put them on the end of this long winding, what really is a long winding path around which your houses are served. And you put the less important buildings, like you put temples, on the way leading to the supply areas. Temples aren't as important. They are important, but you got more of them, and you got to build more of them anyway. So you may as well put them on the outer edges of that time, on the farther down the road. A variant of this idea is the row house block, which is just a straight road with all of your needs buildings at one end, and all of your housing coming down the road from there. Up to a length of about 27 squares, which is 3 9x2 blocks of housing. This is pretty much foolproof. You can't screw this up. Your walkers cannot screw this up. It is a bit less efficient than 9x9 or 7x7 blocks, though, because of course, about 3/4 of the population of that is not there. You can mitigate that by layering rows on top of each other. Like if you put another line of 27x2 right next to this. I haven't done it here, but you can kind of imagine it. Or in tight spaces, you can turn it from a row into just a long winding road that kind of operates in the same way. You get the picture. It's a flexible solution, but there are others. By and far, the best way to control your traffic in your cities, and in fact the thing that makes these blocks I've just shown so successful, is the gatehouse. The gatehouse is a military building. It is rather unattractive to your citizens, and it awkwardly takes up a 2x2 grid of space and puts out 2 paths. So it's kind of clunky. Another problem with it is it's not available in scenarios where military buildings are not available. But all that being said, the reason you want gatehouses in your blocks is because walkers will not go through them unless they are purposefully going somewhere outside of your block. Walkers on a circuit that only connects to supply areas through a gatehouse can never get lost, they never start at the wrong place, and they usually go on a loop from start to finish, and they don't backtrack. So it's a win-win. Gatehouses are what make the 9x9 and 7x7 blocks so amazingly efficient, and what stops that turning that you see without them. Because of gatehouses, those gatehouses make it possible for you to have a central supply hub with all of your supply entertainment buildings, your actor colonies, your gladiator schools, your lion houses, and your granaries and your warehouses, all in a central place with a bunch of these 9x9 or 7x7 city blocks in a circle around that central hub, as you can see I'm trying to do here. And that's really powerful. That lets you build populations so easily. It's just brilliant. So, that covers some basic design principles. dealing with walkers and fountains and getting people into an efficient area. There's lots more blocks than these, and again, I will suggest checking out Caesar 3 Heaven's strategy page under their section Housing Blocks, because they have designs for fireproof blocks. They've got alternate blocks, like a G block that works better in tight spaces, and there's even designs for specific maps in the campaign. I think there's a Caesarea, among others. But the ones I provided here are basic solutions to the 2 design questions that all city builders need to answer. I hope you've enjoyed seeing me put these cities together and talk about this small part of my kingdom, my empire, you could say. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know about it in the comments or on Twitter, and the same if you want to suggest some games that might already be part of my kingdom, or that should be. So, thank you very much. This has been Badger Lord Patrick. Peace to you, and God love you.